Welcome to XLAND History. In today's episode, we ride into the legend of Billy the Kid, the young outlaw whose name became synonymous with the Wild West. Known for his lightning-fast draw and daring escapes during the Lincoln County War, he captured the world's imagination. Was he a cold-blooded outlaw or a misunderstood hero? Let's find out together. A boy from nowhere. They say he died young, barely 21. But the story of Billy the Kid never truly ended. He was born Henry McCarty, likely on November 23, 1859, in the crowded alleys of New York City. A thin, blue-eyed Irish-American boy, he grew up knowing hardship more than comfort. His mother, Catherine, did everything she could to keep them afloat, but when she passed away from illness in Silver City, New Mexico, Henry was left completely alone, a child adrift in a vast desert world. At 14, he had no family, no money, and no place to call home. He survived however he could, working odd jobs and drifting from one dusty town to the next. His first brush with the law came at 15, a minor theft that branded him a troublemaker. But behind that label was just a lonely boy trying to survive in a ruthless frontier. From drifter to gunslinger. By 17, Henry had already begun shaping a new identity. He called himself William H. Bonney, and soon, the name Billy the Kid would echo across the Southwest. A heated altercation in Arizona territory left a man dead. Some said it was cold-blooded, others swore it was self-defense. Whatever the truth, the young man fled across the border into New Mexico, where his legend began to grow. He drifted between ranches and small towns, earning his keep with his skill on horseback and his uncanny accuracy with a revolver. To many, he was a charming, quick-witted cowboy with an easy grin. To others, he was a dangerous outlaw. The truth, as always, lived somewhere in between. The Lincoln County War. The turning point came when Billy found work for John Tunstall, a young English rancher who dared to challenge the powerful Murphy Dolan faction controlling Lincoln County, New Mexico. The area was boiling with greed and corruption. One side controlled the trade, the courts, and even the sheriff's badge. Tunstall treated Billy like family, and when he was ambushed and killed in 1878, something inside the young man hardened. Along with a small group of loyal friends, Billy joined a vigilante group called the Regulators, vowing to bring those responsible to justice. For months, the Lincoln County War turned the territory into a battlefield. Gunfire and chaos ruled the streets, and by its end, the power structure remained. But Billy had been branded a wanted man. He was no longer just a drifter. He was now the most talked-about figure in New Mexico. The outlaw with a code. Despite the headlines and the tall tales, those who knew Billy described him as polite, witty, and strangely honorable. He loved to dance, sing, and laugh. He spoke fluent Spanish and got along well with locals in the Hispanic communities of New Mexico. Many saw him not as a villain, but as a rebel standing up to corruption and abuse of power. Governor Lew Wallace, the same man who wrote Ben-Hur, once offered Billy a deal: testify in court in exchange for a full pardon. Billy agreed, hoping for a chance to start fresh. But when the promise fell apart, he found himself betrayed once again, hunted by both the law and former friends. The Great Escape. The story that sealed his legend came in April 1881, when Billy was held at the Lincoln County Courthouse under guard by two deputies. Using nothing but quick thinking and sheer nerve, he managed to break free, disarm his captors, and slip out of the building before anyone could react. He mounted a horse and vanished into the desert once more, a ghost in the moonlight. Newspapers across the country printed his name in bold, while songs and dime novels began to romanticize his story. Billy the Kid had become more myth than man. The night at Fort Sumner. Sheriff Pat Garrett, once a drinking companion, was now tasked with ending Billy's story. On the night of July 14, 1881, Garrett claimed to have tracked him to Fort Sumner, where, according to his report, he confronted and shot him inside the home of Pete Maxwell. There was no verified photograph of the body, no autopsy, and no clear proof that the young outlaw was truly gone. The burial took place before sunrise, and rumors began to swirl almost immediately. Some said Garrett shot the wrong man. Others whispered that Billy had slipped away yet again, choosing to let the world believe he was dead. The return of Brushy Bill. Decades passed, and the Wild West faded into history. But in 1949, in Hamilton County, Texas, an elderly man named Brushy Bill Roberts stepped forward with an astonishing claim. He was Billy the Kid. He wasn't asking for fame or money, only for the pardon he had been promised 70 years earlier. At first, his story was dismissed as fantasy, but then he began recounting details that only Billy himself could have known. The exact layout of the Lincoln courthouse, the names of the regulators, the number of steps leading up to the old sheriff's office, even the particular brand of shotgun kept by the deputies. When researchers compared an old tintype photo of Billy with Brushy Bill's portraits, the results were startling. Over 90% facial match. The scars on his body matched those recorded from Billy's battles. His handwriting, speech patterns, and even his slang reflected the same unique quirks found in 19th century letters attributed to Billy. Witnesses who had known the kid, or were children of those who had, confirmed that Brushy Bill's mannerisms, voice, and memories lined up perfectly with the stories passed down through generations. The last ride. In 1950, Brushy Bill traveled to Santa Fe to meet the governor of New Mexico, hoping to clear his name once and for all. But the meeting turned into a public spectacle. Reporters crowded him, flashes went off, and the old man, weakened by age and 2 prior strokes, struggled to speak. The governor denied the pardon, and Brushy Bill passed away less than a month later. He was buried quietly in Hico, Texas, without any DNA testing or official investigation into his claim. Over time, floods and poor record-keeping erased most evidence from Fort Sumner, leaving behind only stories and speculation. Even decades later, historians and researchers remain divided. Some call Brushy Bill a fraud. Others insist the evidence points to one incredible truth: that Billy the Kid survived, changed his name, and lived out his final years in obscurity. The legacy of a legend. Whether he truly died in 1881 or walked away to start anew, one fact remains: Billy the Kid became larger than life. His image, the young cowboy with the tilted hat and half-smile, has appeared in hundreds of books, songs, and films. From Paul Newman's The Left-Handed Gun to Emilio Estevez's Young Guns, filmmakers have reimagined him as both hero and antihero, symbolizing freedom, rebellion, and the spirit of the American frontier. Artists, historians, and dreamers continue to chase his ghost, each finding something different in the story. Courage, tragedy, injustice, or the timeless struggle between legend and truth. Billy's story endures not because of how he lived or died, but because of what he represents. A young man caught between law and survival, myth and memory, justice and betrayal. So maybe the real question isn't whether Billy the Kid died at 21. Maybe the question is whether legends like his ever really die at all. Thank you for watching. Billy the Kid's story may have ended young, but his legend rides on through every tale of the Wild West. His fearless spirit, quick wit, and mystery still spark debate more than a century later. What do you think, outlaw or folk hero? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so his legend never fades. Welcome to XLAND History. In today's episode, we saddle up and ride into the heart of the American frontier, where courage met the horizon. From Buffalo Bill's showmanship to Kit Carson's daring trails and Nat Love's unbreakable spirit, these cowboys and frontiersmen built the legend of the Wild West. Which pioneer's story inspires you most? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of adventure. Born in Iowa, Buffalo Bill Cody became one of the most celebrated figures of the American frontier. He worked as a Pony Express rider, scout, and showman, turning the Wild West into living legend. His traveling show brought cowboys and sharpshooters to audiences around the world. Passed away in 1917 at 70, Cody's adventurous spirit still defined the image of the cowboy and the open frontier. Born into slavery, Nat Love rode his way into history as one of the most famous black cowboys of the West. Skilled with a lasso and revolver, he earned the nickname Deadwood Dick after a rodeo triumph in Dakota Territory. He later became a storyteller, preserving cowboy life in print. He passed at 67 in 1921. Nat's daring spirit stood as proof that the Wild West belonged to everyone. Jim Bridger, a fearless mountain man and explorer, he mapped the untamed West before it was truly known. He guided wagon trains through dangerous passes and discovered geysers that later became Yellowstone. Bridger spoke several native languages and built bridges between worlds. He passed away in 1881 at 77, remembered as one of the greatest pathfinders of the American frontier. A rugged frontiersman and explorer, Kit Carson blazed trails through the Rocky Mountains and beyond. He guided settlers, soldiers, and mapmakers across untamed lands few dared to cross. Respected for his skill and endurance, his name became synonymous with frontier courage. He passed at 58 in 1868, leaving behind a legacy woven into every trail of the American West. Davy Crockett, frontiersman, soldier, and storyteller, he rose from humble roots to become a national hero. Known for his coonskin cap and bold words, he fought for freedom and fairness. He died in 1836 at 49 during the Battle of the Alamo, standing to the very end. Crockett's legend lives on as the true spirit of courage in the American wilderness. Known as the father of the Texas Panhandle, Charles Goodnight helped shape the cattle industry. He blazed the Goodnight, loving trail, leading herds across rivers and plains with unmatched skill. More than a cowboy, he was a builder of communities and legends. Goodnight passed away in 1929 at 93, leaving a legacy that defined the American cowboy's golden age. Known for his striking looks and steady hand, Wild Bill Hickok became the model of the Western lawman. He rode as a scout, gambler, and gunslinger, earning fame from Kansas to Deadwood. In 1876, He was shot while holding a poker hand now known as the dead man's hand. He passed at 39, his charm and legend living on in Western lore. Born into slavery, Bass Reeves rose to become one of the first black deputy U.S. Marshals west of the Mississippi. He arrested over 3,000 fugitives with intelligence, courage, and integrity. Known for his disguises and quick wit, he inspired tales for generations. Reeves passed away in 1910 at 72, his story shining as a triumph of justice and resilience. Writer, adventurer, and storyteller, Ned Buntline brought the West to life through dime novels and stage shows. He helped turn Buffalo Bill and Wild Bill Hickok into household names across America. His pen turned fact into legend, shaping how the world saw the frontier. He passed away in 1886 at 65, leaving behind the myths that still ride today. A true cowboy innovator, Bill Pickett created the sport of bulldogging, wrestling steers with his bare hands. He performed in rodeos around the world, showing skill, humor, and fearless pride. As a black cowboy, he broke barriers with grace and grit. Pickett passed away in 1932 at 61, remembered as a legend who redefined cowboy courage.